Greetings. This is Professor West. I am compelled to discuss Chapter 3 Publisher because the newsletter is a little bit difficult when you're trying to import data files or import text. So I'm going to start from the beginning in the exercise to just give you an idea of what to look for in the steps. So I'm going to go to Built-in and Publisher. This is Chapter 3. Built-in, and I'm going to scroll and look for newsletters, and I'm working on page 108 to 109. After I click on newsletters, I am looking for Eclipse, which is the actual template. Aspect is already here, Etched is here, I've already have that in there, and the 2 pages there. So actually you see where you're now ready to create the newsletter. Let me move it so you can see within this frame that I have aspect, etched, already selected when I went and looked for etched, and aspect when I look for that, and 2 page. Now I'm getting ready to create. In this newsletter, you will be able to do the following. It tells you in there to follow the steps. On page 110, you should be able to set page options. With page 1, I'm already on page 1 as you can see. Okay, as you can see, I'm on page 1 right here. You have to go to options, page design, and options. Page design and options. And here you would select columns, which we already have, and click mixed. And then click OK. So I followed the steps on page 110. If you skip a step, it will affect your entire newsletter. In the page navigation pane, I have to click on 2. And here I am with 2. And click options under page design. And columns. No, underneath the page content, it went left, inside. And then click columns and click 2. So we make sure you have left inside page 2 and click OK. Wait, did I skip a step? Let me see. Response order forms. Let's see. I want to make sure I click OK like the textbook tells me. Now we're on page 112. Click back on options, page design options again. And this time we're going to select right inside page. So I click on right inside page and click on 2 for the columns. Okay. Now I need to save this, so I'll go and save this actual document, which is the newsletter. The name of the file. Let's see here, quick access, browse, and the file name is Shelter Newsletter. And then I'm going to go to page 113 to edit the masthead. Now with the masthead, it is a box or a section printed in each issue that lists information such as your name, publisher, location, volume, and date. So on page 114, I'm going back to page 1, and then I'm going to click on newsletter title and type and zoom to 150%. There we go, and type Shelter days to replace, and right click to make sure it best fit. So I right click and best fit, and now you see that. Click the default text in the business name, and Control A to select, and then we're going to type Brisbane County Animal Shelter to replace that, and then we're going to type in the date, May 1, 2017, volume 7. We already have volume, so we type volume 7, comma, issue 2. Now, to import, this is the difficult part, and that's the part I want to explain. Importing, it describes on page 115 the definition. Publisher uses the term importing to describe inserting text or objects from any other source into the publisher workspace. Publisher uses the term story when referring to text that is contained within a single text box or a chain of linked text boxes. Each newsletter template provides linked text boxes or text boxes whose text will flow from one to another. So now what we're getting ready to do, we're going to make sure we give a headline, and that gives you information at the top. So on page 116, it says click in the placeholder text, lead story, headline. There we are right here. And I must type on step 2 on page 116, shelter dog, Ricky, comma, wins state agility trials. After typing that, I'm ready to import. To import, you will go to insert, and you will go to insert file to look for your file, which is here. There we go. And I must go, I have my data files already saved, so I'm going to go to, publisher, data files, and the name of the data file, I have to zoom to 120. Well, anyway, to import Ricky Wynn state file. There we go, and click OK. Now, the actual document has been imported, or the story has been imported, and that is self-explanatory on page 117. On page 118, we have to do to edit the secondary story. Here we go here, and we're going to type in the headline, which is Our Grand Reopening is May 20! Exclamation point. Now, to continue a story across pages, this is the difficult part, and that's why I'm going over this with you. Click the secondary story. So I have to click inside this text box and go to insert and insert file. Once it's a little bit slow. Okay, now here we're going to select the data file named Renovation Story. And notice that it went to page 2. It says auto flow to this box to flow text into the selected box. Here in the Microsoft Publisher dialog box, you click the Yes button. Okay? To follow a story across pages, I go back to, this is the text flow inserted into the text box. So there we are. We already inserted and imported it to the next page. And so I'm going back to page 1, and I'm going to scroll down, and here, okay, here we are. To follow a story across pages. Here we are, here, story at the bottom. So we're at the story at the bottom, and you can see these are your text boxes here, your story text box. And we're going to click the second text box right here. And then notice that this is my previous button. So I click previous, it goes to the previous text box. And here I click next, and it goes back to the second text box. So they want me to click back to go back to the first text box just to let you see. And then it says to break a text box. And this is where students get a little hang up here. You have to break before you can go anywhere. To break the text box, link. It says sometimes you might change your mind about where to continue a story. So if you want to change your mind where the story is going to be continued, you must insert a break. In this case, you have two choices. You can undo the previous insertion and autoflow again, or you can break the connection and create a manual one. So here, we're going to navigate to page 1, which we are, at the bottom of the page, and then click the second column, which we will. And here we're in the second column, and it says here, click the break. And to click the break, you have to be on the text box tools, and then format tab, and here's the break. I click break, and then when I click break, you see these little 3 dots, that's your ellipses. When I click that button, you have now an overflow bucket. Because I'm going to tell it to go not to page 2, but to go to page 4. So I have my overflow button, and it says click the page 2 and page 3 icon. So I come over and click my page 2 and 3, because I still have my overflow button. With the picture shape, that's what it looks like, a little picture. Click the placeholder text in the story to continue the Our Grand Reopening on page 3. So I have to make sure I'm on page 3. Here we are, we're on page 3. And I need to zoom so I can see. I'm on page 3. And it says with the picture shape pointer, click the placeholder text in the story to continue Our Grand. So we're going to go scroll as necessary to display the story at the bottom. So I'm going to the bottom because I don't want it on page 2. So now I'm going to click to make sure that it's imported. And there we are. I have imported the information on page 3 instead of page 2. And to format and continue, I'm going back to page 1. I'm on page 122, and I'm on page 1 newsletter, and I'm going to right click the second column of the text. Page 1. Click the page 1, navigation pane, and then navigate to the bottom, right click the second column. So I right click the second column and click format text box. Now we're here where we have to go to text box and say continue. Right here you're going to click continue, and then you're going to click OK. Takes a second. Okay. Now click back to page 3. We're on page 3. As you can see, I'm going to scroll so you can see we're on page 3. And I'm back on page 3. And then on page 3, we're going to right click and say format text box. And this time, we're going to click text box tab and say continue from. So here we're going to say continue from and click OK. That's on page 123 if you're with me. Now on page 124, to edit the headlines, and what we're going to do, we're going to click inside the story headline placeholder and type Our Grand Reopening. And that's on page 1. Okay. To replace the text. So here we're going to go back. Let me go to page 1. There's page 1. They're saying continue on page 3. And then if I go to page 3,